mean, pick your poison with that defense.
Big boy's back.
9 to noon.
What in the ham fat is going on with you guys?
The Vikings.
You got too many men out there. No.
Okay, calm down.
Oh, good. It's a Friday football feast here, 9 to noon, 651 Carpets Plus Studios. And we're about to become full strength yet again. Very excited. Fresh off the plane from an exotic, paradise-like location.
Hey,
Paul Allen rejoining the fold after a few days of vocal and mental maintenance. There were luau's, there were pig roasts, there were elephants.
there were lays.
There were lays. Everybody. Lays.
Let's get the voice right. You've been talking a lot this week. I haven't talked at all. Hold on. Get your voice right. Did you drop a Canada beat everything red, white, and blue highlight?
Well, that's how I was going to kick it off, and let's just hear some of the action from last night. It was water in the desert from the standpoint of leagues on pauses. We're looking for something to get excited about, and we all stood behind the flag, and there were a lot of goals to listen to and watch last night.
He gets it into McKinnon. McKinnon, 3 goals, dancing, sends it in front of the net, he scores! Nate McKinnon's got 4, and Team Canada has a 1-0 lead.
Now, Team USA, PA, I believe, had fallen behind 1-0 in each of their previous 3 Four Nations game. What they were really good at was tying it up.
Here she's behind the net, wrap around in front, they score! Brady Tkachuk on the doorstep, and this game is tied at 1.
And the roof was crumbling at TD Garden, not to mention the ability to tie it up. How about taking the lead, Team USA?
Back to the point to Werenski. He lets it go. Binnington the save. Matthews. They score! Jake Sanderson on the rebound. 2-1 USA.
What's up? What's my AOL password? Damn, man. I didn't have time to print stuff.
Well, we will work on the password while we listen to, sadly, Sam Bennett tying it up for Canada.
Fox up to Miller, picked off by Marner. He comes back with speed. Mitch Marner, in on goal, they score!
Wish I came back with speed.
Marner to Sam Bennett, short side shelf, and we're tied at 2.
And it was free hockey. It was into overtime. They weren't going to do a shootout. It was 5v5 for 20 minutes until somebody found the back of the net. Hey, best guy at hockey on earth, that Connor McDavid guy. Maybe we shouldn't leave him so wide open in front of the net.
Set play. McDavid scores! Connor McDavid scores the goal. Team Canada wins 4 Nations gold.
Yeah, what a buzzkill. Yeah. And it's the buzzkill portion of the equation. Good morning. Paul Allen, back 9 to noon. Nordo, great work during the course of the week. He's a producer of 9 to noon, and welcome back.
9 to noon.
The USA's Four Nation loss to the Canadians was not preferred, but the biggest buzzkill, the biggest ugh that was experienced yesterday by yours truly was the F-bomb I dropped on a Honolulu jetway.
I always love that one.
Watching the OT on my phone, McDavid scores, I blurt the bad one, and there were 2 young children about 5 feet from me.
I always love that one.
It was a fat ugh. Losing a championship to the border rivals following a wonderful week and change of hockey, also of the fat ugh variety for the United States of America. Our guys, Boldy and especially Faber, were terrific, represented the colors well. So how often is the Four Nations in-season tournament going to take place? Any idea?
Well, that's been the talker of the week, PA. I had Russo on earlier in the week, even got the chance to chat with head coach John Hines. And the common theme is kind of, well, it's not going to be like this again. It may not be the Four Nations Cup specifically with USA and Canada and then Sweden and Finland.
Feeling a little frisky with that bet, aren't you?
Well, but with that said, with these ratings coming out, I think the Olympics are next year.
Yeah.
I think the NHL has stumbled on to something.
Hell yeah.
And I think whether it's 10 million people watching Saturday night, we'll see how it all came to fruition last night.
Did you get bit?
Well, that's the thing. I got absolutely bit. So, Mac McClung winning dunk contest, that's pretty cool. All-star game in the NBA, not my favorite that's ever happened in the history of exhibition games. But I think really a lot of things coming to in confluence or coming together here in the idea that we had a situation where best on best, the Americans' best, the Canadians' best. We hadn't really seen that in about a decade, PA, because I believe the bit is NHL players are not allowed to represent their country, maybe on the Olympic stage. I forget where they're barred from, but that limits your ability to truly see the Jack Eichels and how about Matt Boldy and Brock Faber in this tournament? Oh my, but truly best on best. Hadn't been able to see that in almost a decade. So what they stumbled onto here is how to build this thing to include everybody else, I think, as the years unfold. So it sounds like there's a ton of excitement behind it in years to come.
Yeah.
Next year, though, it's the Olympics, so that kind of figures itself out.
Now,
it's time to drop the puck.
That sucker was high in sports snobbery. Awesome, out of nowhere action. And they all cared so much about winning the prize, which was cool. So then I guess we're back to the Bonk All-Star game next season because of the Olympics. And other than pride, not exactly sure what said prize entails, but they all gave everything they had every single minute in the middle of a season that's set to resume tomorrow. So that was quite touching. Maybe there's serendipity in it for our beloved Minnesota Wild. Talking about the Four Nations and a positive transpiring from a negative. The potential serendipity, maybe the long play gift for the Christmas colors is Winnipeg's Hellebuck is so shaken by allowing the country winner.
I always love that one.
It impacts his mindset the rest of the journey and just gets blasted moving forward. Any shot at that?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Hellebuck was so good in this tournament. I think we're going to have a hard time selling that. Winnipeg, as good as they've been, Hellebuck has been best in class for the Americans, and he was good last night. Again, how does Connor McDavid? I couldn't tell whether that was Matthews or somebody, but somebody lost 97 right there in the sweet spot, and the game was over in a heartbeat. But the story coming out of that is after Saturday night's game. So you're on the beach, you're sending me photos of your open shirt in paradise, and appreciate that, of course.
And I didn't send you more, and I didn't put anything on social media. Once just like hey, take a look at this coconut. Hey, take a look at this thing here. Because when we caught wind, pardon the pun, how cold it was back here on Monday. Well, like Monday and Tuesday. I mean, were those like record-setting days or something?
I don't think they were record-setting. Maybe coldest of the season. That's it. And so
was it nasty?
Yeah, it was frigid. It was awful. It was windy. Whatever. The wind chill. We live in an area where we pay attention to the wind chill. So I could hit you with, well, it was about 15 below. But I would rather say, well, with wind chill, it was 30 or 35 below. One of the most impressive parts, I think, Jordan Binnington, out of the game on Saturday night. People are referencing and analyzing, well, Binnington's a tough option for the Canadians in net. He won the game for them.
You think he didn't?
He won the Four Nations face-off for them yesterday.
My heavens.
And surviving that onslaught there, early OT, Matthews at the doorstep. I think Boldy off a rebound. How good would it have been if Matt Boldy ices the freaking tournament there? Yeah. And it was a bouncing, probably an impossible rebound for him to corral, but he was right there. All those moments, Binnington cliched standing on head moments So much maligned maybe by some, but Binnington ultimately became the MVP right along Connor McDavid, who was at his best when his country absolutely required it.
Brock Faber, one of the stars of the tournament. That's no surprise to us. His work last night on a couple of McDavid breakaways was Chelios-esque. And then you see all of our favorite countrymen disappointed after the handshake. They're just going to leave, head back to the locker room, catch the quickest private jet they can get to wherever they want to go to enjoy a super special day and a half of vacation. And Brock Faber, last one, stick pointing up at the crowd. Hey, he was thanking the fans, man. He was the only. I think now I'm taking this thing in on a jetway and an iPhone 11. And hockey in person is dramatically better to watch than hockey than hockey on TV, and multiply that in unquantifiable fashion. Yeah, when you're watching something on a cracked screen iPhone 11, but I'm pretty sure Brock Faber was the only one to stick around and point the stick up, a little metaphorical stick tap to the crowd at the TD Gardens. I thought that was cool. It's in closing here for the opening segment on the Friday football feast. Too bad this can't be done in the other three participants of the core four. And, I'm willing to concede here. I'm probably not the first who's thought of this during the course of the week, but that's what I was thinking of after the game. Like, how about the USA against the world in basketball? Because like baseball would be hard to do, football would be hard to do, specifically like a 2-week tournament. But the USA is so dominant in basketball when you get to the Olympics. How about USA against the world? USA against the world. And like when I was thinking this out, I'm like, we still wouldn't lose. But then I was like, or would we? Because listen to this. The world could roll with Wemby, when healthy, Wemby, Giannis, Sabonis, Luka. Boy, Luka looks real comfortable out there LA way, doesn't he? Oh! Just like standing in the corner like a child.
Once in a while, there's a transaction where both teams lose.
Holy cow. Luka,
tough start.
Siakam, maybe. Joker, SGA, Canadian national team, go crazy. Jamal Murray, Valanciunas, Pirtle, and Sengun, just beating up on the bigs. And old buddy, the Bahamanian Healed, drilling threes from deep. And after Kyrie figures out the world isn't flat, he might be able to prove he's Australian to give the world some backcourt depth. The skeletal remains of Joel Embiid could give them some pop, too. But think about it, from Wemby to the skeletal remains, that's a pretty badass world team if they were to think about this, right?
Well, I think it'd be a badass team, but then the question goes back to, what is the incentive? What is the incentive? It's the thing we talked about when they started the in-season cup. Are you going to get the players to care? Well, in the in-season cup, if for no other reason than LeBron or Giannis care that the 12th guy on the roster gets that $500,000 check when they hoist the trophy, because we know he's making league minimum. There might be that element to it, but how do you incentivize best on best playing at their best? Because
representing your country.
Well, we need to see that, right? When it comes to the Olympics, we did see that. And it's the amazing experience we saw just last year in talking about how Anthony Edwards would build from that experience. So we know that can be a thing, but can it be what we saw and what we've seen many times from the sport of hockey? And I'm not sure yet that it could get there in season, PA, because there, as much as that tournament was awesome in the Four Nations face-off, there has to be GMs and head coaches and organizations across the league. Think about your unsub, Paul Maurice, down in South Beach in Florida right now, waiting to get his hands back on Matthew Tkachuk, trying to find out how serious that injury is, as the Panthers are trying to repeat. And we just saw, Wemby hucking up threes all-star weekend suddenly has deep vein thrombosis.
Yeah, what is that?
So how would the NBA handle the idea of a true competitive element?
I don't know.
In season with eyeballs required, leagues trying to win games or teams trying to win games. It's tough.
Quite honestly, I hadn't thought all of that out. I just had a lot of fun putting together the world team. From Wemby and Giannis to Joel Embiid.
It'd be a sweet team.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, USA always wins in basketball, specifically best on best, international style.
Who's going to flip a coin? It's going to be Embiid and SGA to determine who's going to take the 30 free throws in each of those games.
See, so we'd roll with like LeBron, Jason Tatum, Anthony Davis, Anthony Edwards, Jalen Brunson, maybe Steph Curry.
Let's play.
Jimmy the Bulldog, KD. We're approaching skeletal remains of KD, by the way.
Are we skeletal remains of Jimmy?
Fair point.
He's a little revitalized in the Bay, though.
Ja Morant, De'Aaron Fox, Cat, Tyrese Maxey, maybe Trey Young if you want your field goal percentage to be below 40. And for sure, Amen Thompson for the steals.
I always love that.
Hey! Welcome back, Paul. Feels like we lose, quite honestly. So let's go ahead and skip this bad boy and move on. Back to hockey next segment. Final home series of the season for the Golden Gophers hockey team. And Ohio State is here tonight and tomorrow. And the seniors are celebrated this weekend at Mariucci. Coach Bobby Motzko joins 9 to noon around the corner to talk about that, the Four Nations, and much more. Nordo produces, and I'm Paul Allen. That's all courtesy of TimberTech and TimberTech.com. It's 9 to noon, full strength. That's debatable, always were, but we still got that money thing.
The Fan wants to give you a chance to put $1,000 in your hand with the National Cash Contest. Go to KFAN.com, enter the keyword money. You might win $1,000. The keyword is money at KFAN.com.
Wolves.
Friday Football Feast, Paul Charchi out, Nordo very much in. Likewise for yours truly, Paul Allen. This is FM 100.3, KFAN, and we're happy now to be joined by Bob Motzko, coach of the Golden Gophers hockey team. Deep stretch of the 24-25 season, and the Buckeyes are at Mariucci tonight and tomorrow. They split in Columbus earlier this season, and Coach Motzko joins us now. Coach Paul Allen, how about that Four Nations? Pretty high level stuff, wasn't it?
My goodness, last night, that the atmosphere and the build up for that game with everything going on, it was great for our game, and the game was tremendous. And how about Brock Faber last night? I mean, he was an absolute beast for Team USA. And, heart crushing loss in overtime. We outplayed them greatly in overtime and chunks of the game, but that's hockey. And but it was epic. It was an epic display of hockey.
In those two where they faced Canada, obviously losing last night, winning the first one, more around a handful of times. He Faber last night on a couple of 2-on-1s took away McDavid, which I mean was just really, really difficult to do, and he did such a good job. But he also, again, a handful of times saw McKinnon and McDavid coming at him with a head of steam. I mean, are you kidding me with that? And to keep your poise, get a stick on a puck to knock it away, or just jar somebody off a puck? That's so daunting. He's so good.
We had a group chat with our staff last night, and I just made the comment in the chat. I go, the game is so easy for Brock. Like he's out there playing against the world's best, and it's just effortless in how he defends, how he plays the game. It's special to watch what he's doing.
All right, so Buckeyes, the Ohio State Buckeyes, you got 4 to go in the regular season. The final home series of the season takes place this weekend. They celebrate the seniors. More on that momentarily. These Buckeyes, freshman Riley Thompson leads all Big Ten freshmen in goals with 16. What's his game like, and what makes Ohio State pesky?
Big, strong, heavy horse. This Thompson and this line, their top line has been outstanding. I got a lot of respect right now for Ohio State. They've been consistent from start to finish, where Michigan State and us, the Gophers, kind of ran away with things early, and then we both kind of hit a little January kind of hit a little skid and little sideways skid, I'll call it. And then all of a sudden we look up with 2 weeks to go, and Ohio State just hung in there all year long. And now they're, three teams battling it out for the top three spots in our conference. And they've been the most consistent. And I think two of us had, we had the injuries and the sickness, and Michigan State went through that as well coming off the bye. I was reading that they think they're getting back to healthy again. So they got good goaltending, Ohio State, solid line, solid defensive core, steady. And we've got our hands full this weekend. There's no question about it.
So, Bob, with the conference having 5 teams ranked in the top 16, 5 in the top 16 of the pairwise, is this arguably the deepest the Big Ten has been?
Yes, I mean it's our problem is it's not Big Ten hockey. It's we don't have enough, like 7-team league. So and there's no. Notre Dame has kind of slid sideways, but they still, come on, it's Notre Dame and Jeff Jackson team. They're never far from anything, though they look down right now. We just beat each other up, and there are you've got no games on your schedule where, boy, we're going to get 4 wins there, we're going to get 3 wins there, and it's just we have to deal with it, and it really shows at the end of the year all the matchups right now that. For home ice, the pairwise teams fighting to get in the NCAA tournament. And I've always said, the problem with Big Ten is we just don't have enough teams. So they're all good. All 7 programs run hockey at a high level, and it's a juggernaut going through our conference.
Now, Coach Motzko's Gophers have scored an NCAA best 125 times this season, with 20 different players scoring at least a goal, including 5 that have eclipsed double-digit goals. Very impressive. And I know defense and defense breaks hearts, and your defense has been quite solid all year too. But one can journey a long way with offensive depth. Like you have right now, right?
Well, it's definitely a strength of ours. We have found ourselves in a handful of games, though, where we because when the schedule's so tough, there have been 8 games this year where we've only scored 2 or less goals. Now, we've won 3 of those games, and you've got to do that every year where you win a tight one, and then a handful of those games went into overtime. I'm kind of leading this discussion. We know we can score goals. We have to be a comfortable team playing in tighter games. And I think that's one of the things. We want to get up and run. We want to get up and rev. We score early in the game, our juices get flowing. But when you get to the end of the year, you're going to be in these 1-1, 2-2 games. Look at the game last night. There was just no easy ice for the best players in the world.
Yeah.
And we have got to be comfortable playing in these tight games, and that's what we've been really building in with our group, our competitive edge to keep our focus in these tight games. We had last week at both games 2-2 in overtime. And we're going to continue to see this. And I like where our group's at right now. I think we're in a really good spot. And we're ready for that challenge.
Gophers hockey and Ohio State, Mariucci, 7 tonight, 5 tomorrow. It's the regular season, a home finale, as series would go for the Big Ten. And both teams are quite highly ranked. And the Golden Gophers are celebrating the seniors this weekend. There will be a ceremony following the Saturday game at 5. If I'm missing one here, I apologize. And then also analyzing the graduate stuff too. So I put them in there. Mikey Kester, Aaron Hugelin, Mason Nevers, Liam Soulier, your goaltender. That's the handful of seniors you're celebrating, right?
Yeah, and Nick Michael's a grad in there. The seniors that went through it last year because of COVID, Mike Kester and Nevers, they already went through it with their parents. And we did this last year too. They said that they've already had their celebration. So we're gonna. But Liam Soulier, who went through it at Penn State, has not gone through it. And our fans, we're sure going to recognize, Liam tonight. and get our seniors out there. So it's just a very small group of guys right now.
All right.
But we'll be excited to do that for sure.
Well,
tomorrow night.
Yeah, tomorrow. With Chaska's Kester and Rozo's Huglin, they wear the C for you. What have they meant to the program?
Well, they've given their heart, and I mean they're all in. They're all in playing for the University of Minnesota and Gopher hockey and what it stands for. And so many times today, and you can't help it sometimes with these young people, more individualistic and it's bigger than themselves, and they know it. And we're so fortunate to have leadership, and we've had it for a long while, where that's been kind of handed down inside our group, and every day just great guys to be around, their work ethic, their enthusiasm, and I really mean it. I'm just not giving you a talk that you show up, you're just pulling for these guys and this team and the leadership that we have.
Go ahead.
We really truly believe there are great things to come, and that's we're a player-led program, and I'm proud of this group.
Lastly, here, Bob, and thanks for the time. The squad, your team, 6-4-2 since the start of January. 6-4-2.
Yeah.
What are you looking for these Final Four in the regular season to get the guys razor sharp for the NCAA tournament?
Well, that 6-4-2 kind of came through January. We went sideways in January. The biggest thing that's when we were beat up, and we had fought through it with injuries. I mean, we played one series with 5 players, and we battled through it, and it finally had caught up to us where we kind of I'll use the term, we ran out of a little bit of steam, but we're through that. And then the sickness came in, where it's going through everywhere right now. I heard it's going rampant on the East Coast again, running through teams. We're healthy again. We've got that spirit back inside our group on a daily basis. We're looking for that consistency back again. We had it early in the year. I'm proud of how we fought through our adversity. We all go through it. You go through the adversity, you got to handle it. Our guys did. But now in the stretch run, we're just a good spot. We're just standing on concrete right now with this group, and we just believe we're in a spot to do very good things.
All right, my brother, tear it up this weekend. Keep all those kids healthy, and we certainly will call you before the NCAA tournament. Okay.
All right, Paul. Great to chat with you.
You too. Have a good weekend. Bobby Motzko, coach of the Golden Gophers hockey team. 7:00 tonight, 5 tomorrow. A couple at home at the Mooch against Ohio State. And after the Saturday game, they're going to, in a roundabout way, celebrate the seniors. So that'll be fantastic. Vikes Bites are next.
Vikes Bites.
Good morning. Welcome back. It is 9 to noon, and it is time for Vikes Bites. Vikes Bites is presented by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef. And you can shop online. A box of meat shows up at your doorstep. It's a Clearwater, Minnesota company, so you're supporting local. It's nutrient-dense and regenerative agriculture and a lot of scientific things that I don't truly understand. I just know the finished product is awesome, that it's super healthy, and it's delicious. And you can get them at your local Coburns, Co-ops, Kowalski's locations. They're proud sponsors of Gophers Athletics as well. In some ways, part of this conversation for Vikes Bites today will be kind of a rehash. Some things have come out while you've been on the beach, sending me pictures of your open shirts. And I want to start here. A couple of contract void date extensions, PA. Mm-hmm. There's one player that is very intriguing as we approach the deadline, but I shouldn't say he's not intriguing, but Aaron Jones, running back Aaron Jones, impending free agent, and they extended the void date, whether there was a small cap or dead money consideration as part of it, but they don't have to make a decision now until right up to free agency. But the conversation around that, PA, has been that maybe there are conversations between Aaron Jones and the team to not void the contract, to maybe extend the contract and bring number 33 back in purple and gold. Your thoughts on Aaron Jones?
Well, yours truly is off to the Indianapolis Scouting Combine Monday, and most of the two shows are set, jammed up a little bit too. So some of those commits We will play some of them on Thursday when yours truly gets back. But 2 that will be live. Kevin O'Connell, Tuesday, 11 a.m. Tuesday, 11 a.m. Kevin O'Connell with yours truly and Pete Bursich from Indianapolis in the Convention Center. That's before his press conference, too, so that's pretty cool. And Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, General Manager Kwesi Adofo-Mensah, he'll be on the 9 to noon show Wednesday, time to be determined. I bring that up because Aaron Jones needs to enter the conversation off everything you just said. It's my belief, without searching for any steam on this, that they want to keep Aaron Jones, but that doesn't mean that's what they want the complete identity of their running game to be.
Right. So
yeah, I saw the news, reading between the lines. I think it's an indicator that they want to keep him, but he was 1-7 last year. 1 year, $7 million. I don't really know what the dollars and cents are going to look like this year, but sometimes you can have dollars and not have cents. So hopefully his number doesn't get too high.
Yeah, he was 9th or 10th in rushing. My question to you, because you mentioned, and that's the natural extension of the chat on Aaron Jones, is what the face of the running back room itself is going to look like. Cam Akers. This is now a couple of years in which the Vikings have added him in season for his services. Towards the end of 2024, PA, I would actually say, even though he got caught from behind on that 59-yarder against Detroit in the regular season finale, that in some ways Cam Akers looked like the more apt running back in some spots than Aaron Jones did. So Aaron Jones made all the games. Aaron Jones got all the reps. I think a career high in carries as part of that and touches.
Yeah. So
that's all positive, but how much did it matter at the end? With Cam Akers becoming a free agent, with the team, without saying it loudly, basically told us that they no longer had confidence, or at least they did not believe that Ty Chandler was the best second option that they could possibly do.
Yep.
Do you believe that Ty Chandler will get another opportunity to prove himself? Has that story been written for him? Because that'll then depend on what we see in April with the draft and maybe even secondary options in free agency. Ty Chandler.
Yeah, it's a dynamite question. Because it's multi-layered, in that I know they like Aaron, but I also know it becomes frustrating for those calling games when players get hurt during games continually and they got to leave after they've taken all the reps in practice during the course of the week. But maybe that's something you can get around, because when Aaron had pop, think about that touchdown against the Lions at US Bank Stadium. Before Aaron, got nicked up a little bit, he absolutely was acceptable as an identifiable running back. Now, when Aaron and Cam, let's go back X amount of years before the Achilles with Cam and the nagging injuries with Jones. Aaron Jones has been a better overall running back than Cam Akers.
Yes.
When they're on level terms. Now, physically speaking, that can even the scenario and make the terms uneven. And we saw that towards the end of the year last year. Thirdly, with Ty, it's an excellent question because the draft is rich in running backs.
It's a mile long, the list of running backs.
That's what we hear. I'm excited to get to the combine and learn about some Saturday running backs, because if like Darnell Mooney, who's had a pretty good career for the Bears and the Falcons, well, he was a Saturday wide receiver. So if you're able to, or if you're pushing, this is one of the deepest running back drafts in the history of the NFL, then there need to be some taken on Saturday who make a difference.
Right.
But with a running back, there's a segue. I started talking about this at the end of the year. There's just a segue I see taking place in the league where the running back tight end combination and how teams are playing off that, it's remorphing. It's re-energizing itself, because to have good running backs and good tight ends is age old. And some of the best teams in the history of the NFL have thrown it, but they've meshed how they use their tight ends and their running backs in unison. So therefore, it's the pick your poison bit. It's like when you get Josh Oliver, and it's like, all right, go ahead and play base. We'll throw through and or over the base with Hawkinson. Play nickel. And then they'll run behind Oliver or throw to Oliver with some shorties. Pick your poison, right? But from a running back standpoint, if it truly is as deep as a lot of the experts say, you got to leave with one.
Yeah.
So you got 4 picks right now. I don't know where the compensatory lands. Maybe it hasn't been decided. I haven't looked it up. But they have 4 picks. And think back to 2020. It's Gutenkoots. All right, 3-2. Super special Goody, who runs the Packers. I've never heard him say this. I haven't searched for it to see if he looked back at the 2020 draft, where he did not take a wide receiver. It's almost like valor was the better part of discretion, and he just got sick of hearing everybody say how good this receiver draft is. Cool, I ain't going to take one, and I'm still going to succeed, which he didn't. Now, when the tight ends came up deep, they took a bunch of them, Tucker Kraft, Luke Musgrave, and got Ben Sims, undrafted from Baylor, off the Vikings practice squad at the end of training camp. So the Packers there identified something that people were saying was super deep, capitalized on it. If the running back draft is as deep as people say, personally speaking, I'm negative on taking one at 24, but I still want to leave with one. Now, setting up all these combine interviews and tapes and everything and chatting with these people about the draft a little bit. And I don't know if this has been reported or not, or you can find something on anything combine related if you look hard enough. But I didn't look for this. I'm hearing that the tight ends in this draft are really, really good.
Wow.
They're like 1 or 2 high enders. I ain't going to put them on a Brock Bowers, but like 1 or 2, maybe 3 high enders. But then like 5, 6, 7, 8 after that, who could be of the Tucker Kraft variety, which would be totally fine. So keep that in mind too. Maybe not necessarily here, but I've just always been a fan where something is really, really deep. Then you need to be good enough, if you don't have enough picks or you pick in the 20s or 30s, to find somebody in that crop who can help you immediately.
Yeah, and this is super early, you haven't even gone to the combine yet, and this will be something you're discussing in more detail with Pete by your side, like he is during games. But moving forward, the idea that the depth of positions in this, if we're focusing on that, it sounds like this is a massive draft for high-end defensive interior linemen. It sounds like this is...
See, I've heard the opposite. I've heard that there are some defensive tackles that you want to get your hands on, but then it falls off. So
there might be a cliff, but a lot of people are projecting as many as 4 or 5 defensive tackles going in the first round. And we know how that changes between now and the draft.
Yep.
But my point ultimately is depth of defensive interior. There's a few good guards in this mix. You guys have talked on the feast prior about Gray Zabel, of course, North Dakota State. He's a badass. There's a Tyler Booker who played at IMG in high school with J.J. McCarthy, who's pretty good. I think he's Alabama.
What's his name?
Tyler Booker.
Damn.
So there are some names out there. Corners, I don't know if it's as deep as they've talked about with the running back class, but there's a bunch of corners that can potentially contribute early. And again, we're still like 2 months away from the draft, but it feels like this might be for a general manager that needs to find W's in the draft, for a team that needs to get better with young talent, that it could be best player available among several positions where, typically if we're dialing in like into, man, it'd be really nice if we got an O-lineman, we get a Christian Darrisaw. Perfect. We're rooting for that to happen. I still remember 2019. Yeah. The roof came off U.S. Bank when Garrett Bradbury was selected, and we can all argue about how that's turned out since then. But all the same, like focusing in, dialing in on one guy, it feels like this is a draft, the way it's been spoken of in particular at 24, where the Vikings truly may have 2, 3, or 4 different position groups that they could address with that pick, and Vikings fans could be really happy with the aftermath of that.
Well, there are 2 names that during the course of the week setting up the combine that I had multiple people bring up to me, when I ask certain questions. One is a cat named Derek Harmon. Are you familiar with him?
D tackle.
Yeah, defensive tackle from Oregon. Any idea where he's going to be drafted?
Well, he's one of those names. So it's Harmon.
Yeah.
I think it's Nolan. Is he an Ole Miss cat? I think number 2. I can picture him on a profile bit that I was reading. There are 2, Mason Graham and Kenneth Grant from Michigan.
Yep.
And then Shamar, I forget his last name. There's 5 or 6 D tackles that have all, and what are mock drafts worth? They're worth us getting excited about or dream weaving, etc. But 4, 5, 6 D tackles that are all in conversations about these are guys that day one can contribute on Sundays. But yes, I've heard about Harmon, and he's one of those guys.
No idea where he's going to be drafted. He led defensive tackles in pressures last year with 34. Pressures and hurries are vital, for those who watch film, those who make picks, things like that. Pressures and hurries can be underrated for people like me or fans.
Because it's not just TFLs, it's not just sacks.
Yeah.
It's how are you constantly impacting the play.
Yep.
So the pressures and hurries matter.
The other name, and again, if I'm mashing on things that people have thought about a ton, I apologize. Combine next week, new steam.
You were just on an island.
Derek Harmon is a name that intrigues me, as is a cornerback from Texas named Jahdae Barron.
Oh,
Jahdae Barron. So those are a couple of steamy names that I have very early in the equation that, it's whether I think it or somebody else thinks it or not, could fit here the way they do things. And when you talked about the interior defensive line and the depth, it's hard to analyze defensive line. It's getting harder to analyze defensive linemen coming into the NFL because so many teams are playing. They're playing the 3-4 hybrid with floaters.
Yeah.
So you got 2 defensive ends who absolutely fit in 3-4, but not necessarily in 4-3. And then you got cats playing 2-man defensive lines where they got an end and they got a 3 technique. So the way teams are analyzing defensive linemen, it's just throwing me off a little bit with some of these chats that I've had.
Because it's almost more athleticism and maybe more versatility.
Yeah.
When you're kind of locked into traditional 4-3 D end versus a guy that might have to drop in coverage periodically.
So
things that are being asked of them.
So if you weigh 255, 260-ish.
Oh, thank you.
263-ish. Well, over the course of time, that looks like a prototypical 3-4 defensive end.
I've been telling my wife that for years.
That's not the case anymore. Yeah, you can be a 3-4 defensive end with those measurables, but they're being used in different ways. So therefore, you see my man with the 34 pressures at Oregon in college football, but that doesn't mean he's strictly going to be a 3 technique in the National Football League.
Remember when we went down the line too, and this, Harmon, new class, new potential, the whole thing, interior, the whole bit. Remember when we went?
What's my Twitter password?
I have no idea. It's probably inappropriate. Remember when we went down the line of pass rushers in the Pac-12?
Yeah,
and just the great pass rushers in the history. I think was it KFAN Thibodeau?
Oh yeah,
they came out of Oregon, and he's had his ups and downs for the Giants.
Yeah, that's right.
Are we? Do we?
Oh, because it was the Latele
Leatu.
Yeah,
and he ended up being the first defensive player taken. I think he had a good rookie season by all accounts. But
I heard a lot about him.
Hopefully there's not a Pac-12 bent to the numbers.
That's a fair point.
When you're analyzing Harmon.
But really, is that even in play anymore? When you got Parker Fox and Ben Johnson's team sweeping USC and UCLA as Big Ten teams.
Yeah.
So, it's like going from Drew Bledsoe leading Washington State down to Matt Leinart leading USC.
Yep.
That ain't the bit anymore.
Well, how about the Gophers? They beat Lincoln Riley's team and Miller Moss and the whole bit and handled UCLA, beautiful San Gabriel in the background, the whole thing.
So stupid.
Final contrast.
San Gabriel Mountains.
San Gabriel. Well,
the foothills.
Can you say I just said San Gabriel's.
It's beautiful.
Is that accurate as a local?
The foothills of San Gabriel, adjacent to Santa Anita Park and Pasadena.
Did I almost sound like I knew what I was talking about?
Here's the deal. If you had Miles Spires putting out a fire on Fair Oaks Avenue, I might have come over there and just like given you a giant hug.
Similar conversation, but different position. So contract void date extended for Aaron Jones, also for Byron Murphy Jr. The interesting thing here is Tuesday was Happy Franchise Tag Day. Sam Darnold, the Vikings have not used a tag on any player. As part of extending the date, they cannot franchise tag Byron Murphy. So either a long-term deal.
Hold on a second. Say that again.
Because they extended the void date of Byron Murphy's contract.
Got it. Thank you.
They cannot franchise tag him.
Got it.
They either will offer him a long-term deal that excites Murphy, he signs it, or he will enter free agency. When you think about Byron Murphy, he gone or entering free agency.
I don't think he's gone. I think he'll be back.
Well, and that's my question, because Guns for Hire and Stephon Gilmore and Shaq Griffin, they're free agents. Cam Bynum's going to be a free agent. The cornerbacks on roster right now, I believe, are just Mekhi Blackman returning from an injury. Dwight McGlothern, limited reps and opportunities, undrafted into his second year.
What's his nickname?
Nudie. And then Najee.
I always love
Nudie, though. Najee Thompson, who was injured last year, but we don't.
So weird.
We do not want him in coverage. We want him as a special teams demon, and we're happy with his role there.
Yeah.
So it kind of feels like you got to keep one of these guys. So Vikings have a bunch of cash. If you're going to go and get a Byron Murphy Jr., is that going to cost a little bit less than a name like DJ Reed that has been thrown out and as good as he's been for the Jets opposite Sauce Gardner? The importance, maybe the priority of the long list of Kwesi's to do, it feels like Byron Murphy might be higher on that list, doesn't it?
Yeah, I don't like DJ Reed. I love DJ Reed. And
he's good.
And here's why. Because when you play opposite Sauce Gardner, who do you think gets the most looks?
There you go. Yeah.
And he mostly came through. He's smart, man. I've just started to learn some things about DJ Reed that I didn't know, even though the Vikings played DJ and Super Special Saucy at Tottenham Hotspur. But I really, really like DJ Reed. That's going to be a pretty penny. So if you go Gray Zabel 24, and you would do that because in free agency you've secured Murphy Jr. and somebody else you like at corner, like DJ Reed. So, and now if that doesn't work, then all of a sudden your right guard from KC's in play. Mekhi Becton could be in play as a road grading guard here. So the free agency, it's not breaking news, but what you do in free agency, to a certain extent, paves the way. What's up, 5-2? For what you do in the draft,
right?
So it's fluid. Let's just put it that way. It's very fluid.
Very fluid.
What up, baby?
That's Vikes Bites, brought to you by Thousand Hills Lifetime Grazed Grass-Fed Beef.
Chad Greenway, former linebacker for the Minnesota Vikings, joins 9 to noon weekly, courtesy of Grey Duck Vodka and Grey Duck Spirits, and that's around the corner at FM 100.3 KFAN.